Ghosty fam, Amy here. Welcome to The Activity Continues, a podcast where three soul friends talk about all things paranormal. Ghosts, hauntings, psychics, movies and TV shows, especially The Dead Files, and other spooky and spooky adjacent things. We also like to interview people in the paranormal community, as well as past Dead Files clients and other interesting people. Sometimes we even tell your stories. I hope you enjoy the show.
There we go. There we go. I nailed it. I said I nailed it.
Now you can hear?
Yes.
Okay.
So stop talking shit about me. I got my Sage This Shit candle that I just lit.
Nice.
P, you look very like 80s. It looks like you're really sporting like a suede blazer.
Yeah, I love the blazer.
I do too.
It's actually like corduroy. And then it has...
Nice. Oh, that is very...
Cool. That's almost more 70s.
Yeah, that is there fringe on
actually,
it.
No, I don't usually do fringe, but I do have a couple pairs of wide leg pants, and I definitely feel the 70s vibes when I wear those wide leg pants and like stuff like this. So
I took notes this episode, you guys.
Sweet.
And awesome. I was telling Amy before you got on AP that I just finished watching the episode like 6:40.
I told her we kind of assumed that.
When I saw your title come through, I was like, oh, I wonder if she's watching right now.
First of all, correct.
I know you.
Yes. Yes. Did I or did I not finish it?
Hey, that's all that matters.
All that matters.
I came prepared with notes.
Nice. I have mine on my
I was going to say, I thought I saw something on the screen. Well, down below.
I don't want to put it on my computer because then it makes my face the wrong color and everything. Mm-hmm. And so I thought I would try this instead.
That was mean, but funny.
But it's the same for all of us.
Well, what I see right now is I look yellow.
You do
almost
look yellow.
Orange. And you look, Megan, you look like white pink. And Amy, you look a little bit darker than Megan. But I wish there was a way we could get us all to look the same. I don't know how to do that. We all have the same lights. We all have the same cameras. I don't know why.
Relish in our uniqueness. Okay. I don't want to conform.
Well, that's the background. You do what you want with your background. Anyway, we should probably get started, huh?
Probably get
17
going.
Minutes in.
Just dive on in.
Okay. So as you know,
I'm going to tell you about Briggs later on.
Oh, right.
Hello. AP, you were late on that. Thanks for joining us again.
Just your sound system.
Well, Amy and I were together and you were not.
Not on my end.
Okay. Thanks for joining us again. This is our second episode in our spring break series, Ghosts Gone Wild. Amy picked the one that we're discussing today. So Amy, why don't you tell the fans why you chose it?
Well, alrighty. Today I picked Killed by the Klan, which is in season 1, episode 7. And I didn't pick it for this reason, but I like this. It aired 11/11/11.
Okay, I do like that.
Isn't that cool?
That's really
so
neat,
November 11th, 2011. And I picked it because, well, first of all, I was looking at early ones because I really like the early ones because they're so cute and wee and
they
little
are
babies.
So adorable. I thought that today when I was watching it. I was like, Steve looks so young.
I know, they all do.
Yeah.
So cute.
Like when he was still nice.
I think he's still nice. There's just...
He just isn't nice to everybody.
Different.
Right.
Okay, well, allegedly.
That's different.
With the capital Minnesota. Interesting.
That's different.
Different. So partly because of that, partly because I seem to remember Amy saying that this was one of the episodes, Amy Allen, that is, saying that this is one of the episodes that scared her the most. After watching it again, I don't really see why.
I didn't really see that.
I think I might have
Key
mixed
West one or a different one down in that area.
Well, I had in my head that it was something about the Klan. So maybe it's another one about the Klan. I'm thinking now that maybe it's that one that really was scary. The one with the Klan people in the forest. It was that lady who lived in like a van, kind of, not a van, but a trailer home or whatever, motorhome.
Yeah.
And she had her friend was a trucker and he lived there and he wasn't there all the time.
Ooh, that one was really scary.
Yes. I think it was that one.
That
That must have been
I
the one
remember
that
that
scared
one.
Amy so much. But I didn't remember that one being so early. But that might have been. It might have been season 1.
That was
or
really,
season 2.
really scary. That was one of
That
the
was
very,
a good one.
yeah,
I don't
it
remember the
was
name
good,
of that one either. But we
it's
did
called
cover that
Scared
one.
Megan.
It's called
What it should be called.
Scared the shit out of all of us. Yeah.
I mean,
That was a scary one.
that
But
was
anyway,
really scary.
so this was a good one, but it's not, it was, the reason I picked it is not what it ended up being, but there we are.
It was still
So,
a good one.
It was a good one. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it takes place in Key West, Florida, which is, I picked it because of Key West, because that's a party town, as Steve will say.
But not everyone's here is having a good time, is what he said.
That was really good. The episode I just edited today, I did a Steve impression, and you guys were like, "Oh my god, that was spot on." Of course, it was not, but
it was.
I like that we all try to do Steve.
I was like, "Oh my god, is it Steve?" No, it's Amy. That's what I said.
Yeah,
I was like, "Steve."
Steve here.
Bring
So AP is going to give us
Yeah.
the little content warning. I shouldn't say little. AP is going to give us the content
Just
warning.
the teeny tiny
Yeah.
one.
There's just a couple
one.
things. I don't know if you can guess by the title
title.
of this episode, which was what I like about the first season is they are quite literal in the
Yeah,
naming of the episodes.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
So, Killed by the Klan, surprise, we have mention of our favorite people in the white hats.
Oh,
Not
gross.
at all. If you can't understand my sarcasm, maybe you'll hear
I
my
hate
eyes
them.
roll to the back of my head.
They're
There was
disgusting.
Despicable.
Yeah, me.
Yep. No, that's a good movie.
It's so good.
I know.
I'm glad you
Banana.
caught that. I'm glad you caught that.
Anyways, yeah.
Sorry,
So
this
hey,
is
AP
serious.
here. Content warning: torture, beatings, hanging, the Klan. There are a few things
Racism.
of. I think that was pretty well
I
implied by the
just
Klan. But
wanted
yes.
to clarify.
The R word.
Yeah.
I wonder if they ever spill on their robes and they're like, "Dang it!"
Spaghetti. They eat spaghetti. They probably don't eat spaghetti when they're wearing their.
I don't know. They're pretty fucking stupid. They probably
That's
do.
True. That's true.
Spaghetti and lasagna all rolled into one. Spagania.
Anya. I love it.
I mean, they're
If
basically
we
the
have
same
any
things, just different
Italian
shapes of noodles.
listeners, if we have any Italian listeners, we don't anymore.
You were going to apologize, but you're just like, oh, they're already gone.
I'm so sorry, you guys. I don't
Yeah,
mean it.
we have some fun. I would also say you could probably play a drinking game with one of the phrases that they use about 17,000 times.
I literally wrote that in my notes. How many times are we going to say this phrase?
especially in just one section
Mhm.
around. Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's, just a sign of the times using the term prostitute instead of sex
Mhm.
worker.
Sign
and-
of the time.
yeah. So there's language. There's always going to be language. And I'll say
Mostly
just,
from us.
yes. And cringy language from the episode in general.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. They weren't exactly
Politically
enlightened
savvy in this
back
one.
then. Yeah.
Yeah. It was not great.
No, it was.
I did say in my notes, how many times do we need to say tarred and feathered?
Mhm.
Because it's about 3,700.
Yeah, that's true. And when they said it, I know we're not really deep diving in yet. We haven't even done this overview, but when the guy said it to Steve looked, maybe they edited it wrong. Now I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
But
I feel like in the earlier episodes, it's probably more on par
Yeah.
than it
There's
is in
a
the
lot
later.
of scripting though in this one. You can some of the phrases they say and you're like, okay.
yeah. But when they said it, when the guy said it to Steve looked perplexed, like he didn't know what it was. And I'm like, how do you not know what you obviously know what that is? But then the guy explained what it is. So that made me think that the producers said, hey, Steve, pretend like you don't know what the fuck that is. And then the guy has to explain it.
Yep.
Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So the only housekeeping I have is that we have been invited to guest on another podcast for the first time ever. I know. I'm pretty excited.
So excited.
We're so excited. We're going to record next week.
So excited.
The show is called History Goes Bump. And I want to mention that I had quite a fangirl moment when I got the message, the little invitation from the host, because I used to listen to that podcast like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago.
Mhm.
And I think, Megan, it was when we worked together. And I used to go roam around downtown in the Skyway system for lunch, listening to podcasts. And I listened to that one a lot. I can just picture myself sitting at this one cafe I used to go to all the time, listening to them. And I loved their show. It's a really fun show. Yeah, it's really cool. So I was really excited when she reached out to me. Diane, her name is.
Oh.
And so I think it'll be super fun. And we're all three going to be on, and she's got a co-host too. So there's going to be 5 of us all talking over each other. I will say the only thing that I'm a little worried about is they don't swear.
I cannot swear. Oh, gosh, darn it.
Golly, gosh, darn.
Oh, shoot.
So, yeah, we got to
do my best.
Yeah,
oh,
we gotta be
darn.
careful.
But I can't fucking promise anything.
I know.
Okay.
I'm a little worried,
I'm offended.
By what?
I'm a little worried.
By
you,
that F word. It's offensive.
I'm usually pretty good, like around parents and stuff. Like I can usually,
I'm pretty good.
So just pretend like, my mom's on or something. I don't know. Anyway, excited about that. We're just going to talk about our ghost experiences. She wants to know about all of our, stuff we've seen and heard and smelled.
Like ones I had this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
So I am house sitting at my sister's house, and this is the first time since Briggs passed that I did not bring, since I don't have Briggs with me. And when I stayed here in June, I brought one of my other dogs with, but just with things going on with her dogs and everything else, I just decided not to bring one to make it easier. But it hit me pretty hard on Saturday. I was like, normally he'd lay on the couch next to me, and I have pictures of him kind of stretched out, or he laid on one of the dog beds, and he always slept in the room with me. And Saturday night, I felt push downs at where my feet are. Sorry, I just moved my setup is janky, and I have a computer on top of a laundry basket.
She's not at home. So
no, I'm not at home.
You're at your sister's house right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I hear Mishka barking now, but I could feel down by my feet, which is where Briggs usually laid, and he would put his head over my feet. I felt like the footsteps of a dog turning around and laying down. Mind you, the door is closed. No, the dogs or the cats were in the room. And then
could it be the dogs?
It's not the dog, Steve. And then last night I was laying on my side, and I felt pressure on my shoulder, the shoulder that was up. And Briggs used to do this thing where he would protect me, I would say, and he would climb up around me, and he'd put his paw on my shoulder, and then he'd put his head over my neck.
Aww. Okay.
And kind of like spoon next to me and do that. And I felt the pressure on my shoulder, and I felt the feeling around my neck.
Wow. Yeah.
And
he's just
I
saying
know,
hi.
And I'm sure there are people who are like, oh, it's muscle reflexes and that sort of stuff, but it was too constant and too consistent.
Not anybody who listens to this podcast.
Probably not. Yeah.
So that's
really nice.
That's my sign that he was here with me.
Yeah. Oh, what a good boy. Cool. All right. So, overview. I'll read it this time since I picked this one. Guilt by the Klan takes place in Key West, Florida. As Steve notes, it's a party town. We open with Amy stating, Steve will conduct his investigation without knowing anything that I've encountered, making it clear that she goes first. The client is Colette. She lives in a cute house with her partner, Glenn. She doesn't actually see or hear anything. She just has feelings, and she gets cold and has feelings of dread. Glenn actually sees apparitions and has had experiences his whole life. Amy sees a lot of dead people, but 2 stand out the most. There's a man who has been tortured and burned, another man in white. The man who has been burned is not easy to describe, and so she decides to have the sketch of the other man in white done instead. Steve does some digging and learns of a clash between a man who had a relationship with a woman of mixed race. And the KKK did not like this, so they went after him. And he then sought revenge. And Steve connects these 2 men to the ones that Amy saw, but I am really fuzzy on who's who. So I'm really interested to talk to the 2 of you about who those people are, and maybe may help me make it make sense, as Amy said last week.
That's an AP thing, not a Megan thing.
Oh, making something make sense?
Yes. I make it less make sense than when you started out.
Might make it more muddy, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Steve also uncovers a potential voodoo curse, and it is tied to a spirit that Amy sees. I think, again, I have a question about that. Amy says they have to be very, very careful, but as long as they keep the home protected and the energy clean, they'll be okay. And the tag end confused me as well. As you can tell, I was very confused at this episode. The tag confused me as well. We can go over that too. It says Colette stopped all attempts to communicate with the dead.
Yeah.
I don't recall her talking about that
I didn't either.
Time. Okay, good.
I didn't either. That's really confused me. The only time she talked about communicating with the dead, as they state, is when she's helping people cross over, and when they're not
but
cross
she didn't
over.
say that till the reveal.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was at the end. Okay.
So,
I'm sorry.
And then it ends
ahead.
with Glenn no longer sees the 4 apparitions wandering through the house.
Yeah.
I also don't remember him saying 4 apparitions. I remember him saying there were a bunch of people, but
yeah,
I didn't know about 4.
He said one main one.
Yeah.
The man with the hat.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay. So there's your overview. Now we can dig in.
Discuss.
Did anybody else like at the end of that, though, that Glenn totally called Colette out?
Oh,
and I think that's what is being referred to, is that she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
Yeah.
And he's telling her, you need to knock this stuff off.
Mm-hmm.
You keep trying to do stuff, but you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably told her this before.
Yes.
But it felt like he was getting some justification in, I've told you, you don't see what you're doing. You don't hear what you're doing. I do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I got that impression too.
She tried to blame him the whole episode.
Yes.
Yeah. He brought something back.
Oh yeah. I forgot to mention, I was going to put in the notes. Glenn is a treasure hunter. Treasure hunter.
So he was working on a salvage, ship salvage. And she's like, I don't know. Maybe he brought something back with him because, I've been living here for a year and I don't see anything or hear anything. I just get a sense of cold.
Yeah. And then I thought Steve was like, this isn't enough to go on.
He did say that. He said that. I can't go off of feelings alone.
Yeah.
Which I get.
I wrote down exactly what he said because I was like, Steve, come on. He said, since I can't base an investigation on cold chills and creeping feelings, I'm going to talk to Colette's partner, Glenn. And I said, translated, I don't believe the hysterical woman and I'm going to go talk to the man. Because that's what it sounded like to me.
I didn't feel like that at all. That's not what I got. No.
Oh,
he's like, he's first and foremost, he was a homicide detective. Right. You can't convict somebody on feelings. Like Joe Kenda says, you can't. Totally. You can believe somebody did it till the cows come home, but you got to have evidence that they did it.
Sure.
So that's what I got from it.
But I feel like Steve wouldn't believe evidence if I don't think that someone saying I saw if the roles had been reversed and she had been the one saying I see people walking through the house and he talked to Glenn first who said I get a creepy feeling, I think he would have believed Glenn and not had to go talk to her. He doesn't believe either one.
See, this is where I think this is where something was scripted for him to say and it wasn't thought up in the spot.
Probably.
It was because it was too like bomb like. Because, I would say I got more the feeling from like with Megan was like, I can't just go off gut feeling on my own and just go with that.
Yeah.
So, but I would have also struggled with Colette, to be frank.
Yeah. Well, I know. I think I felt like the client should have been Glenn because he's the one that actually sees stuff. And he's the one that actually seems to know what he's doing. And it also felt like she was getting called out. So why would she be the one that called the dead files and brought them in?
I can't.
Probably because she thought she was going to be right and that they would side with her and they would tell Glenn, you need to stop bringing this shit home.
Well, I couldn't quite figure out if he actually lived there or if he was just there a lot.
I think
I thought he lived there.
I think that's his residence, but I think he's gone a lot for his salvaging.
Yeah. That's the impression I got.
Because he gave I wasn't here for the first 6 months and you had feelings before I even got here that something was going on. So
See, when he said that stuff though, I was like, dude, back off. Like I thought he was
came
like being super aggressive towards
I thought he
her.
was pretty threatening at the end.
Yeah.
I got a like.
I got
a
I'm
bad
fed
vibe.
up. I'm fed up with you blaming me for everything when you're messing around with stuff you don't understand.
See, now that
That's
you
the feeling
point that
I got.
out, I can see that. But when I first got it, I wrote down, I was like, I didn't like Glenn attacking Colette, and I didn't like him lecturing her.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's what it
totally
felt
was
like.
the opposite side of that. I loved that he called her out because I think that she was.
And now I get that. Yes. Now, like what I didn't see the stuff that you saw. So, but now that you say that, I can see it.
I just got from his perspective, he's been dealing with some of this stuff for all of his life. He talked about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that he probably, so all speculation. I'm wondering if he was like, fine, call somebody in. So there was kind of like, they'll tell you I'm right.
I think they both thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, I think
and
they did.
He's the only one who got vindicated. And she was like, you're going to see that they're going to tell you, get away, that it was you bringing stuff in. And he's like, no, you're going to see that they're telling you it was you.
One of the things that cued me in on this is that Amy said, she's not as sensitive, but he's got abilities.
Yes.
And that's where when she started going off on, and I don't understand everything about Reiki, but you do have to understand energies and that sort of stuff and he was like, you're doing these things that you don't fully understand.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous.
That was really interesting to me because I didn't know that Reiki could be something that would let other stuff in,
I'm sure if it's done incorrectly.
Most at least where I've come across where I've seen Reiki practitioners or Reiki masters have been mediums.
It makes sense.
And well, again, not an expert.
So maybe it was like, maybe it was like Brittany who's doing kitchen magic.
Oh boy.
And she's doing kitchen Reiki.
That Brittany, she gets brought up in every
because they also didn't really show Amy having any kind of reaction to that sort of stuff, where I think if that had been this past year or two, that Amy would have been like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Oh, I was expecting her to get upset, but I think she was holding it together. When we saw Jenny, she told me that I should look into Reiki because I am a natural healer and that's what I should be doing. And I did actually buy a Reiki class online to take. And I watched like one of the videos and then I forgot about it. But I just came across it the other day and I'm like, I got to get back to that. And then I saw this episode and I'm like, shit, maybe I shouldn't do that. I don't want to.
Well, I know it has a lot to do with energies and it could, not an expert. I need a shirt that says not an expert.
We should all get shirts that say that.
Not me. I'm an expert in literally
I'm not an
everything.
expert. I just act like one on my podcast.
And then,
stop.
I just think that all tied together. And I think that felt like a reason why they kept Amy saying, I don't think she's sensitive. Like she's like, she doesn't have any.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any of that aspect of it.
I think she wishes she did if she's helping people move on.
Yeah.
That scares
hopefully
me.
Hopefully it's helping and not doing something
wannabe.
else. You know, I hope that it's working.
Yep.
Because it's children she was helping.
I know.
On, which, yeah. Anyway, I just before we get off the topic at the reveal, the last thing that Glenn said is what I took as threatening when he said, "You have to live and let sleeping dogs lie."
Yeah.
And I took that as quit fucking telling me this is my fault and keep your nose out of what I do. Is the way I heard it. I don't know if that's what he meant, but that's what I heard.
Now that AP said what she thinks, I can see it that way. But he was pretty aggressive. But then again, if he's been saying it for a long time, then he could
I didn't see it as aggressive. I saw it as because if you read his body language, he was sitting back. He wasn't forward.
But he was very like
but he was back here where it's like, I've been telling you this. I've been telling you this. Now just please stop. That's what I got, was more of a frustration than an aggression. But that's how I observed it and from own life situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I caught that at the end there too. But yeah, I just got that he was more like, please stop. Maybe she's also been like, tell me more about, this one that was haunting you and this one that was attacking you and this one. And he's like, he's been living with since he was 20, 25.
I thought he said when there was
he was in his 20s when the one threatened him and said, pay attention, big boy, I'll be back. And so
but didn't he talk about one when he was at his grandpa's and he was going out to the barn? Oh, that's the same one?
Yeah.
It followed him for 5 years.
5 years they had a fight. And then he never really talks about that. He just said,
that's what I said.
Fight for 5 years.
I said they didn't address the spirit that he was talking about at all. Like he just told Amy and she was like, oh, okay. And then they moved on, which again, I'm sure they talked about
they didn't.
it.
They didn't talk to a lot of things that I was like, that seemed important. But I'm curious if for him, it wasn't that point that you felt that was more of an aggressive act, was just let that one lay. Like she just said, he's not coming back. He's not going to come back for me. Let's leave it there. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Like that was a traumatic event for him in his life. And she's wanting him to relive it a lot.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay.
I see.
I didn't think he was talking about that.
I was getting.
Okay. That could be. Sure.
That's my drawing of a conclusion of when somebody, it was almost a defensive frustration to me of, I've told you I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. I didn't think of it that way.
I didn't either. Okay. So
I want to just quick. I want to go back to the very beginning. When I started watching this, I was like, I feel like I'm watching the first 48. Did you guys ever watch that show, the first 48?
No.
Not as much as you did. I think I maybe watched one episode.
Oh, yeah. Then not as much as me.
No,
I watched like
you watched like every single episode.
Yeah, I got obsessed with it when I discovered it. So it is very handheld, shaky cam. We're in the car with Steve, shaking along. And then they show like the moon, through the car window and all that. It looked exactly like it. And I'm really tempted to look up and see if it's the same director or the same like cinematographer producer, or whatever as that show. Because it really felt like First 48. Also, it was on video, not film. You could tell that like kind of a more crisp, real looking stuff is usually film or video as opposed to film. The later episodes are on film, so they're a little bit more clear. Yeah,
I did find something. Oh, I was going to say I found something in the Glenn and Colette at the end, because I wrote this down because it was after. I said, I don't know if Glenn and Colette make it after this because she seems to blame him. And he says, that's where you're wrong. I wasn't even here when things first started happening. You play around with healing that may have opened the door. And then it goes into, she does hands-on healing, Reiki, helps people transition. Amy tells her she needs to be very careful and protect her home. So, and then my thought was, sounds like she doesn't actually know what she's doing and doesn't necessarily have the sensitive abilities that could also be making it worse.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I keyed in on things. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
No, one thing I wanted to touch on, and maybe I just missed it, but it seemed like when they were talking about the woman of mixed race, I don't know.
Angela.
Angela, what do you know about her? Not much, Steve. They kept saying she did voodoo. And I want to be like, and maybe I missed it, but it's like, did she actually do that? Or was she just a woman of color who they thought cursed all these men? Like that to me, like, stop saying that, because I personally don't know if she did. But then you have Amy who said she was like raising people from the dead.
Yeah.
I think she said she heard conversation about wanting to raise someone from the dead. But Amy, when they said that she practiced voodoo, Amy had one of her like what faces, but then they never went into it. And so that's where it makes
they just really kept hammering that home. And I'm like, I don't think she did.
I think
she wasn't from the right. I don't think, and I don't know anything about it. So I'm not trying to, if I'm wrong, please let me know. But I feel like that's more in like Louisiana, New Orleans type of area.
I think that's just because of where some settled, but I think voodoo and
Haitian.
Haiti. Yeah. Haitian.
Yep. So I think
Okay,
voodoo
so yeah, I
and
suppose
even
it could be there.
hoodoo
She could
were
have been Haitian.
across all
But
over.
like, I
we've heard
don't
them in the
believe she
Carolinas
was.
too.
I believe it was
Mm-mm.
she was a woman of color who was born in the fucking 1920s
Mhm.
or was
Yeah.
alive in the 1920s with a fucking KKK,
Mhm.
and they were
Well-
trying to think of any reason to
They were
blame
trying
things
to-
on her
Exactly. They tried to connect
or deaths to her. You know
which
what?
All of those
Maybe
deaths they were not like out of the norm
No.
for what their jobs were.
Right.
no, and
Right.
maybe it was karma because they murdered people.
Right. Right.
Right.
Maybe
you
it was just
think
the
about
universe
that?
getting back
Yeah.
at them.
I also
And they were like, the sheriff died a horrible death, and I'm like, okay, but he kind of deserved it.
He was working on his boat and his boat fell off the blocks or whatever is
And
what I
crushed
gathered
him.
because he was
Yeah.
crushed under his boat.
Yeah.
And had to be
And
cut
I was
out.
like, how were
and
you
he-
crushed under your boat?
Yeah.
'Cause
Not
those
while
should
it
be
was in
some
the water, I'm sure. Right.
but like,
But I agree. I was thinking about that
No.
as I'm watching him. Like, this sounds like a
Oh,
story
shit.
that was blown out of proportion in that time frame. And, really it was something to hold on to. It was something to grasp to and be like, oh my God, now he died. Now he died.
I will say that all of that was happening at the time. This isn't something that came out later because I read the newspaper articles about
Yeah.
them, and they said that way back then. They said that they believed that she had done voodoo
Yes.
curses on them.
Yep. Well, because you have
Right.
one okay, all deaths are terrible, but the horrible
Brutal.
deaths, they all died horrible deaths. Okay, one drowned on a fishing trip.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Happens all the time.
not uncommon. One went missing in a hurricane. Again,
Also happens all the time.
not uncommon. One was working on a bridge using dynamite and was blown up on the bridge.
and blow up. Yeah.
Hazard of the job. And then the sheriff died by being crushed by his boat and having to be cut out. I said, okay, we're going to need more on all of this. These all sounds like hazards of the job or coincidence, but
Yeah.
because they were tied to the murder of Manuel,
Mhm.
who is,
But was it
Angela's-
murder because he was involved with somebody who was not his race?
but then that's the other thing too.
That was sarcasm, everybody. Just
Yeah.
His name was Manuel Cabeza.
He was Spanish. I looked him
Yeah.
up.
So shouldn't the KKK not like him either?
I don't think they made
They
that
don't.
distinction as much back then. But and the article that they showed that Steve was holding, I paused
don't
and read it,
understand
of course.
racism.
And it said that the reason the KKK was upset with him is because he was having a relationship with a woman that they favored,
Well,
which
she was good looking.
Mhm,
and she was a sex worker, so they probably were
Right.
going to her,
they probably
Mhm.
were.
and then she stopped because she started dating him, and they were like, "Oh, I can't get my dick wet anymore."
Right.
And also, I'm sorry, but going back to the whole voodoo thing, and they're like, oh, she's chicken bones and blood and blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. I'm like, so she was cooking.
Yeah, probably.
Like, I mean, not blood, but who doesn't make a nice stock with some chicken
Yeah,
bones?
bone broth.
I mean,
Yeah. Although, okay, so here's another thing about Amy. Another question I had at one point when she sees a woman with a look of anguish on her face. She feels strongly about what they're doing, but she couldn't stop it.
Mhm.
She's trying to make something real that was not real. No idea what that means.
Yeah,
And then she says she feels like she doesn't have a voice and she can't stop it. I assume that she's talking about the tarring
Angela.
and feathering of her boyfriend.
hmm
And then they show Amy, her eyes are closed and she whispers, "What are you plotting?"
mhm.
Oh, I
Which
missed that.
Makes me
Oh, I
think
remember
that
that.
she did put a curse on them, whether or not she really was voodoo, whether or not the curse is really what killed them. I think she
Right.
did. But then the Amy at one point when she's talking about this woman, she goes, "This woman, the dark-haired one." And I'm
Mhm.
like, this is the only woman you've talked about
the
the whole
only
time.
woman, Amy.
So is there
That
another
they've
woman?
shown.
Right,
True.
exactly. Is there another woman
There's
involved
always another
that
woman.
Amy has talked about that was cut out of the show?
Mhm.
And now she's distinguishing that person from, or Angela from that person, or the dark haired person
Well,
anyway.
Mhm.
I also was curious about the fact that we get nothing else about Angela in life. And usually when Amy connects with some of that, she gets a little bit more
Mhm.
information. And
Mhm.
that's where I was like, okay, they couldn't she was trying to stop what was happening. Was that about what happened to Manuel, or is it about what happened to her?
Yeah.
Because we don't know what ended up happening.
We
to her.
don't know. Right.
No, we
So
don't know.
that was a thought that was going through my mind of all of that. And yeah, I don't know if she truly practiced voodoo or was just like, I know that there's something, you know, my grandma told me something when I was little that if I did something like this, I could, you know, I think when they were talking about raise the dead, she wanted to bring Manuel back to life.
Right.
It wasn't trying to bring a whole bunch of things.
Right.
And maybe it was to
trying
the
bring
point where
him
like
back.
she cursed them, but it was just like a woman saying, I hope you all
Well,
die.
Yeah.
but
Because
you
they
know,
just killed her boyfriend.
Right.
So in the like the Salem witch trials and things, and a lot of anytime they burned a witch alive, they usually suffocated them first or strangled them so that they couldn't put a curse
Well,
on them while they were burning.
I will say that's at least good that they weren't
Yeah.
Alive while they
dying
were burning?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh no, they were still alive. They were just unconscious.
Well, that's good.
Oh.
I mean, at least they weren't
Yeah.
feeling it.
But that was the main thing, was so that they, because women can always put curses out. So
I just
I
hate
think
it.
there's a whole bunch of things that get wrapped up in.
Well, we're the worst. I mean, obviously.
I want to also mention that the tarring and feathering happened on December 23rd, and his death, Manuel's death, was on December 25th. Merry Christmas to him. Yeah, I found
Speaking
a
of
newspaper article.
agonizing death.
I know. Oh, I know.
Sheriff.
And that's not even all of it. I will tell you what I found in the paper. A white mob of 15 men burst into the jail and beat him with blackjacks. He was then dragged out of the jail.
What's a blackjack?
It's like a stick.
Oh,
like a small baton or bat kind of thing.
Nightstick.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. And then dragged out of the jail, attached to a car, and dragged through the streets of Key West to the East Martello Tower, where he was hanged from a palm tree. The mob then riddled his body with bullets.
Yep. And they said the reason they did that is so that they couldn't implicate anyone else because they all partook.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hate everyone.
I want to mention, did anybody think that the grave looked weird when they showed Manuel's grave?
No,
it looked like it was photoshopped. It looked like it was a grave with a picture drawn out and pasted over the top. And so I did a Google search and I found his grave, and it does not look like that. So I don't know what the hell they're playing at there, but I found his grave and I put the pictures in the drive, but I'll put them I'll put them in the right here. I'll put them like TikTok. I'll put those in too. So though I may want to make sure that we talk about who the two guys are. Why can I not get them straight in my head?
So the one is Manuel, the other is Decker.
Right. Which one's which?
William Decker is the one in the white linen.
In the photo. He was the one that they sketched.
He was in the white linen suit.
Okay.
And he had, so the hat, Amy described the hat improperly to the sketch artist, or she had a different idea. She thought straw hat with like the angle down.
Yeah.
This was more of like a Panama style hat, which is a Panama style is a straw, almost bowler type with the ribbon around it.
Yeah.
And that's what you see kind of with the curl
in the picture.
In the picture.
The actual picture, not the sketch.
Yep. Right. And that's the picture that, they drew. So that's William Decker. And Decker is the one who led the charge against Manuel Cabeza. And Manuel was the burned man. And Amy kept saying, I don't know how he's burned. He must have been somewhere else that it was burned. Well, it was his skin melted from the tar.
The tar. And she said she couldn't accurately describe him.
Right. So that's why
Christ.
Yeah. And so that's what I thought. But then this is why I got confused. Okay, I got to find it.
Jordan's been having a meltdown for like
angry.
10 minutes.
Oh, no.
Both men are angry, and they're both stuck in their states of denial, she said.
Yeah, both of them are like, I'm right.
Right.
So like Glenn and Colette.
Yeah. Hey, it was when Amy was saying this angry white man, he doesn't really care about the consequences. He's going to do what he wants to do. And I took that as she's talking about Manuel going and killing Decker. So that's why I got confused about which guy was which.
Yeah,
Manuel killed somebody. Who did Manuel kill?
He killed Decker.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
He killed Decker, but Decker led the charge against him. And so that's where, they both had their anger and they both had their own things, but Decker was probably trying to screw Angela much earlier on than Manuel.
Literally.
And got pissed
He was
off
the head of the
about it.
clan.
Yeah. And got pissed off that, his little treasure is now somebody else's. And how dare that happen? So that's more so
because he only viewed her as a toy, something he could use.
Something he could take.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I think Amy said something about how they both senses. There's one group, one is control of the gathering, some kind of gang. The head guy is dressed the same. They're all dressed the same. They're all of the same race. There's the bird man and the man in white. Both are angry. They can't talk. She talks about someone is yelling, going berserk, which then I put a little note about berserkers in the Vikings.
Yep.
Do you want to say what that is? Because not everybody else is going to read your notes.
No. So berserker is kind of that term to go like almost insane to the point you don't feel any pain or anything. So it's believed that the Viking berserkers would, before they would go into battle, would have some sort of mushroom or whatever that would cause them to basically not feel anything. So they were terrifying to go against in battle because you got someone who's got an open gaping wound and they are still going strong.
It's a flesh wound.
They'll die.
What are you gonna do? Bleed on me?
They'll they will die as but they won't even really sense that they're going because they're everything is so off. So basically adrenaline just gets so high and everything like that. So they were in a high state going into that. So berserk, then berserker, all of those terms came about that describe those Viking warriors.
I thought it was funny. She's like, I'm seeing these guys in weird hats.
Oh, I know. And then they like superimpose pictures of the KKK as if we don't know what kind of fucking hats they were.
I think my favorite, though, was in the very beginning of the episode when they show Amy opening and she's standing there and it's like she's already open at this point, but she's like got her eyes closed and she's standing there quietly just waiting in the middle of the room. It was like, oh, this is definitely you could tell it's the first season there.
Yep. There was something else early on that I was like, oh, yep, this is young.
Her hair. I hated her hair on this episode.
It's not the cutest cut.
It's
for her.
it's not
a shag cut. A shag does not look good on
most people. It's hard to pull it off.
It was very hard to pull it off. There's a woman on TikTok that I follow that I love, and she has a shag haircut. She is the cutest fucking thing on the planet.
Amy is.
I'm sorry, that hair is.
Yeah. Amy's adorable. Not with that hair, girl.
Right. She's had so many cute haircuts, though.
So many.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is the only one I don't like. Yeah. Every other one is adorable.
There's one other one I'm just like, not my favorite, but you do you.
Right. And that's just my opinion. Amy, you could shave your head off it's your hair. You do what you want.
Shave your head off.
No, please don't shave your head off.
Please leave your head on. You can take the hair, though. Okay. What else do we need to go over? Oh, the sketch. When they did the sketch, they were sitting outside. It was bright and sunny.
And I loved how she goes
at the house.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah,
that's him.
They showed a lot more.
She didn't say, yes, that's what I saw.
Yeah, they showed a lot more of like what they were doing.
Yeah. And they showed more of the sketch, so we had at least an idea of what it was going to look like when it came out.
And also, this is just me, but did you see the fucking rock on that sketch artist's hand? No. Damn, it's amazing she could hold her hand up.
I saw Amy's ring when they zoomed in on that at the reveal. It was really pretty.
It was
two
huge.
rings, but it was really pretty.
It was the sketch artist rock was like blinded by the light.
Maybe there's good money in sketch art.
I saw Steve didn't make a comment on.
I did say I wrote that down too.
On what?
I said we don't have him leading in. Like, I don't know what do you guys think of this. You know, the way he usually does. You guys are gonna like this. And then he was like,
I do have a photo of William Decker. What do you think?
And they were identical.
Oh yeah,
except for the tip of the brim. They were identical.
It was like she had looked at that photo and drawn him.
Yeah. So you know what I did? I took notes of everything that Amy said to the sketch artist, what he looked like, his eyebrows, his face, his eyes, his nose, his mouth. And I put it into an AI, the same AI that I always use, AI program to draw him for me. And I did 2 different ones, and both of them looked a little like what you would expect, except that they were supposed to have thin eyebrows with a slight arch. And both of them were like eyebrows like this. Otherwise, and you can't go back in and say great, except fix the eyebrows. You can't do
right.
that. But I'll show you the pictures later, and
Yeah.
I'll put them right here.
Hi.
Are you raising your hand, or are you just holding
I
your
was just
hand up for a
doing that,
picture?
like you.
Okay.
Feel free to put something there.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe a butterfly. I don't know.
Picture of Tyler Haynes.
I just want to be included in the picture.
Okay.
Picture game.
Okay.
The
That
PG.
reminds me, Tyler Haynes, another Tyler Haynes is following me on
I can't tell you
TikTok
how many
again.
Tyler Haynes have followed me.
I know. I have like 18 of them.
I know. Not the real one.
No,
The one in your ornament.
it's okay. Yeah. Megan made me a Christmas tree ornament that has Tyler Haynes in it, and then another one of me going, so I can hang them next to each other.
They're supposed to be looking at each other.
Right. Cute. It's real cute.
It's very cute. Oh, I do have one other thought just at the very beginning of the episode. Did you guys notice that they scanned to a black cat sitting in the street?
I did. I was like, what is
I didn't
this?
see Kitty.
It had nothing to do with it.
Oh, that's
I put
funny.
I was like,
okay, drama.
it had nothing to do
There
with
was a
that
lot
at
of
all.
that stuff. There was a lot of that kind of stuff. Those like the mist and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I have to blow this sage the
and
shit candle
I
out
do
'cause
think
it is
I-
very potent.
Oh, is it? I haven't lit
did.
mine yet.
I did put down in here with Colette when felt since she moved in about a year ago that someone else is there. Not seeing or hearing things, just cold spots. Feeling someone is here. I said low standards then.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and
what were
okay,
the
so
standards back then for?
here's one more weird thing. The reveal when Glenn is giving her the what for, and he says, let me find it because I wrote it down exactly. He's saying he wasn't even there when things started
Yeah,
happening. And he says, like that thing that greeted you at the door.
Mhm.
We didn't hear
We didn't
anything
hear
about
anything
that.
about that.
Yeah.
They should have cut that out if they weren't going to tell us what the
Yeah,
fuck he's
rude.
talking about. I know. And then that's when he says you play around with healing and all that stuff, and it might be where you open the door. But I don't think he meant the door. I think he meant those are 2 different doors.
Yes.
I
Not
think
like
what
the
he's talking about.
actual door.
Physical
Right, right.
door, but
Right,
the
right.
metaphorical door.
Yeah. But I think when he said that thing greeting you at the door, I think he meant that
The
as
physical
a
door.
physical
Yeah.
door. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
All
Yeah,
right.
This is a fun
Do
episode.
you think we've
Yeah, it
covered it?
was.
Yeah, that was a lot. There was a lot to do, a lot to
Mhm.
cover in this one. It wasn't terribly scary. I did not think.
I could have probably watched this in the dark.
You probably could have.
Yeah.
But I liked it. It was a good one.
Yeah, it was good.
And
I
I
highly
forgot
recommend.
you have the end, Megan, right?
I do have the end.
Megan's going to tell us what we're doing next week.
We will be discussing my choice for Spring Break series season 13, episode 4, called The Bone Collector.
Oh, I remember this one.
I don't think I do.
And I chose it because I really like the movie The Bone Collector.
Oh,
Denzel Washington
Mhm.
and Angelina Jolie.
Yep.
Not the same.
I know it's not, but I loved the movie. So
And
I'm
the
like,
book is really good too. I like both.
Scared of this episode.
I probably will. Great.
Oh.
So I'll watch it in the daylight then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you might want to do that.
Okay. So that's why I chose it. That was literally it. It had not, and I made sure that it was in a tropical, like a spring breaky area, but that was
Yeah.
it. There's no like in depth to it. I'm like, oh, that was a good movie. I'll do that one. And now you know how my brain works.
Cool.
I literally chose the 2 I chose because I'm like, well, that sounds like an interesting place. And it was like the theater, which was fine. And then
Yeah.
the next one is because it's the only one in the state that we'll get to in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Nice.
But that's what we're doing next week.
Yeah.
And
Thanks,
we will let you guys
everybody.
know when we're ready to release History Goes Bump. In fact, they might be a little bit more tight schedule between when recording and releasing than we are. So it might already be out by the time you guys hear this.
Yeah.
But either way, we're excited.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
thanks
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please reach out if you have a spooky story you'd like us to share on the show. We can be reached at theactivitycontinues@gmail.com or through our website or any of our socials. Links are all in the description of the show. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when the activity continues. The Activity Continues is produced by me, Amy, at Collected Sounds Media and is part of the independent Collected Sounds podcast network. We are also proud members of the Boo Pod network of super cool podcasts.
Nailed it.